Yeah. Ivelisse, she thinks I look like Pitbull. That's who Mr. Worldwide is. Which I did actually almost go as Pitbull for Halloween one year.
I heard that, I think it was in third period, talking about you look like a bald cat.
Well, no, actually, that was started by fifth period. And so I wrote it up there because I didn't know who it was. And then they saw it and they thought, yeah, you do. And I looked at him and I'm like, I don't look anything like, even if I had hair, if he didn't, still don't think I look anything like him. I don't see it at all. But she says every time she watches that show or every time she sees him, she's like, you look just like him. I'm like, okay. So yeah. All right, so we're recording. Timer went off, so let's go ahead. Again, I'm not walking around. Your exit ticket is your grade today. So hopefully you put some effort into that work. On number one, you have, again, a section of the exit ticket that says, is it a function or not a function? You have to label each one function or not a function. Actually, one of them I made the same dumb mistake, and I put circle everything that's a function. So when I pass it out, I'll remind you. You can just write underneath every one of them function or not a function. You want to circle them, the ones that are functions, you can do that. I don't care which way you do it. As long as you clearly label every single set of data, so every relation, either function or not a function, however you do that. For the first graph, so we'll say the one on the left, raise your hand. Actually, use what? We got whiteboards, right on your whiteboards. On your whiteboard, right? Do both of them. So you can say like number. They will say this is number one. That's number two. For number one, write yes or no. You don't have to explain it or anything. We'll talk about it. And then for number two, write yes or no. And write it pretty large so I can see it from here. I don't want to walk around. So you got plenty of room on the whiteboard. So for number one, everybody's doing this. You don't know, take the best guess. So for number one, again, this would be number one. This would be number two, the way I'm saying it, even though that whole question is in there. So for the first graph, is it yes? For the second graph, is it yes? And then obviously if it's not yes, it's no. So two options. So we will all reveal our answers in 10 seconds. F of whatever the value of x is, yeah. Because you don't know what f of x equals. F of x, the x is unknown. So if the x is unknown, you can't solve for the answer of f of x. All you can do is write it just like that. You can only solve it once you have the information of what x equals. Or technically, if I told you f of x equaled like some equation over here, and I gave you the value of, well, same thing. Yeah, really, that's the only way you're ever going to see it. It's just like that. All right, let's show our answers. All right, okay, you're good. All right. All right, all right. We have some split answers, although the majority of people are saying, is that for both of them? All right. Majority of people are saying yes for everything. Some people are saying no for this second graph. And that's what happened on the last exit. There was a graph, didn't really look similar to that, but I think the mistake that was being made is the same mistake that gets made on this one. What is the way we determine from any graph? I don't care if it's points on the graph, a circle, a curved line, a straight, I don't care what it is. What is the way we determine if it's functional or not?
The vertical line test.
Vertical line test. When I go to do the vertical line test, I am taking a line that is straight up and down. So we're reviewing right now for the exit ticket. Get out any notes. You'll need a whiteboard and a marker. Why don't you just grab that stuff first? Actually, and if you want a calculator, you can grab a calculator. So if I take this vertical line, again, vertical means straight up and down. That's vertical. If I take this, and if I drag it left and right over that, and again, the only data on that graph, the only line, when I say if I drag it over the line, this is the only line, that dark black going, the slanted one. All those grid lines, the number lines in the background, the Y and the X, can you move that way away from me, please? Those are imaginary. They're just to allow us to say this point on the line is 0, 3. This point on the line is 4, 0. That's all the X and the Y axis are. They're not part of the data. It's like graph paper, basically. If I give you graph paper, there's nothing on the graph paper yet. I haven't given you any data to plot. Even if you draw an X and a Y axis, I still haven't given you any data. That's all we're basically using the background stuff for. The data is this line, or this line with a little break in it. So if I do that, do I ever hit 2 points at once on that dark black line? No, absolutely not. If you don't see that, now's a chance to ask a question. This is all the review you're getting. If it was a curved line, that's really the only time, or a dead straight up and down line, which you saw, I think, on one of the papers. Well, then when we do it over here, I guess I can use my high-tech instrument to do this. If I do it over here, do I ever hit 2 points at once? I don't. It doesn't matter that there's a break in the data right there. That doesn't have anything to do with it being a function or not. And I think for some reason we got that idea at some point that, oh wait, that line's broken. It's not a complete line, so it can't be a function. The test has nothing to do with that. It is simply, do I hit 2 points at once? Because think about it, when we do individual points, there's all kind of breaks in that data. They're just individual points. They're not connected at all. So remember, it's just about doing that vertical line test. If you have a graph and then I give you some kind of data, whether it's points on the graph, some kind of curved line, straight lines, doesn't matter. Now, if I did something like this, and let's say I gave you data that looked like that straight line and then that 1 point. Now, if I go back and forth, now if I go back and forth, I only hit 1 point on the line, but at some point, I'm going to hit the line and that point. That means it's not a function. So again, the rule is, if, and very clearly, I don't care if you have this written down or not, probably wouldn't hurt to write it down right now. If you hit 2 points at once, it is not a function. Still had people yesterday getting that confused and getting it backwards. If you don't hit 2 points at once, that's when it is a function. So we didn't hit 2 points at once, that is a function. Before I added that little black dot, we didn't hit 2 points at once, so that was a function. Now, if I add that little black dot, at one spot, we're going to hit that point and the line, which would then make it not a function. One of the questions I've seen a lot on some of the standardized tests, like the state tests, they'll give you a function, or they'll give you something on the graph that either is or is not a function. It's normally just points. And they'll tell you, they'll ask you, is it a function? Or they'll tell you it is a function or something like that, or that it's not. And then they'll tell you how would you make it into a function if it's already not a function, or vice versa. If it's not a function, they'll tell you how would you make it into a function. If it is a function, they'll ask you what could you do to make it not a function. You're either just going to add a point or remove a point normally. Because it's like, I just added a point to make that not a function, because now I'm going to hit 2 points at once. If I gave you this originally and I said, how would you make that into a function? Well, you just get rid of that dot right there. So they might, I'm not giving you that, don't worry about it for the exit ticket, but just to try to prepare you for next year, you'll see something like that, I'm sure. Whether or not you remember what I just said, who knows. All right, any questions on how to tell from a graph it's a function or not? Almost. Is this relationship a function? Again, on your whiteboard. Actually, if you want to answer, just answer the rest. You can fit it. You don't have to show work on the whiteboard because we're going to talk about it. Go ahead and answer the rest of them on the whiteboard, 2 through 4. You can leave the other 2 on there if you want. So number 2, What's your answer? Yes or no? Number 3, what's your answer? Remember, you will need to show your work and do that on the exit ticket, not on the whiteboards. So I'm hoping you know how to get to the final answer for these. If you don't know how to do number 4, we're going to do it. So you'll need to write that in your notes so that you have another example for the exit ticket. We'll start I'm going to give you plenty of time on the exit ticket today. I don't want you to have to worry about time at all, since this is remember, a bigger exit ticket today. It's not the normal 25 points. It's going to be at least 35 points. It's going to be at least 35, and I might make it 40. So that's getting to where it's pretty large exit ticket. Yeah, even for the end of the year. I mean, as we get to the end of the quarter, which, believe it or not, we're pretty much at the end of the quarter, your grades start to affect you less and less because you already have so many grades in. But 40 points, I mean, that would definitely make an impact if you did really well or if you did really, really poorly.
So it can raise your grade.
Absolutely. Yeah. Any exit ticket can raise it. You get 100, or sometimes there's bonus, and there will be bonus on this one. So technically, if it's worth 40, you could get probably a 42 or a 43. So yeah, anytime you can get a bonus point or 2, that absolutely raises your grade. Last class, I had one person get, oh shoot, I need to give you something for that. Michael got a perfect score, so got some bonus points on the last quiz. That was the only bonus. I think we did have a 100 in here, and we had a couple of other A's. Nick, I believe, is the one who got the 100. And I think Grant and Aiden, I think you guys both got A's.
Who's that Grant?
Grant's jumping back to class.
I knew that was going to happen. That's actually why I brought it up, just so you guys can talk.
When do you not expect me to get a grade?
When you fall asleep?
No. I still do good on them though.
No, when you fell asleep, you didn't. I mean, when you fall asleep on the exit ticket.
Oh, the
Remember
one day I
Yeah.
fell
Yeah,
asleep.
one day you turned in a blank exit ticket. Yeah, that's when you don't do as well. You turn in a
Oh
blank
yeah, I
exit
fell
ticket.
asleep and threw an exit ticket.
Yeah, like couldn't wake him up. Tried 2 or 3 times.
No.
I mean, he woke up, but then just. That was fun. I mean,
But my grade's still like.
I was gonna say now I think you're already back to a B, and you wind up getting an A even with a 0 on it. That's pretty impressive. So bonus points for you would be huge on this one because that's like just taking away that 0. All right, so for number 2, I want you to show this direction while I'm doing something. Show me your exit ticket. Show me your answer. Oh boy, we got mostly. Oh, there's a different one. Josue! Wakey, wakey.
Wait,
We need to see some answers.
which one were we working on?
Number 2.
Number 2 right now. I mean, we answered all of it.
Oh, okay.
So for Josue and for Nigel, I need you to answer so I can see. Ash, I need yours held high.
Because you always do Y over X. Oh my god, it's
Hey.
You confused?
She had a whole blanket like.
Wait,
you think she
Is
is?
it
She always doing that.
Wait, is it the evaluate his thing?
Bro, who doesn't bring a blanket? I guess everybody. How do you bro? Come on, man.
Yeah, you're in my seat.
Because you do Y over X.
Not in English.
Not X
Mr.
over
Gill,
Y.
Mr. Gill.
You're out.
Yeah.
For the input. You know how to do that? Or you, were you not? Alright.
3
Aiden's-
minutes?
Aiden is somewhat smart today, Grant.
What? Only because you got stuff.
What?
The only reason I'm saying that.
Oh.
Mr. Gill. Tell me shit.
Bro,
All right,
did you
guess? There's no Ash. What you got?
Ow.
Not good at this.
Why Aiden was chasing me when he was.
Number 2. Yes or no?
Oh.
All right, so let's talk about it. We had mostly the correct answers. We had a few people that I need to probably clarify something on.
None of them.
So what is the first, if we get ordered pairs or if we get a chart? Remember, a chart is like X and Y values in a table up and down, or it could be left and right. What is the first question you ask? If you need to write these questions down, if you're confused, I would write all three of these we're about to go through. Do any x values repeat in this? That's the first question.
Nope.
Yes.
Yes, three. But they're the same.
So, well, but again, we're going to go through all the questions. So here's your, if you're unclear on this, or if you just want to make sure you do well on the exit ticket, which is probably a good idea, write these three questions down. You go through these three questions, you should not miss a question that says, is it a function from a table or from an order set of ordered pairs? First question, do I have any x values that repeat?
Yes.
So I do. Now, if I don't, what does that mean? If no x values repeat, what's it
Then
mean?
it's on.
It's automatically a function. Like you're done, it's a function. So if no x values repeat, you don't even have to ask the next two questions I'm going to ask. Now here we do have x values that repeat. So I need to go to the second question. Again, if they don't repeat, it's automatically a function. You're done. Move to the next question in this quiz. If they do repeat, though, I need to ask a second question. What's that second question?
Are the y's the same?
Do I have the same y value? Just for the x value that repeats. I'm not worried about the other ones. So I'm only looking at where the x value repeats for my second question. Do I have the same x value?
Yes.
I do, right? I got a 4 for that one and a 4 for that one. What does that mean?
That's the same.
That means that is a function. If the x value is all, or if the x value is the same and the y value is also the same, then yes, that is a function. So if that doesn't repeat, then my last question, which you really don't need to technically ask, but my last question would say, okay, is the y, if the x repeats, is the y different? If you say yes to that, which we say no to that because the y is not different, but if you say yes to that question, that's when it's not a function. So the only way it's not a function is if you have an x value that repeats and you have a y value that doesn't repeat. That's what makes it not a function. We don't have that here. So this is a function. So the answer was yes for this one.
So this is good. Let's say that last one, like the very last.
Do 4.
Mm-hmm.
So that very last one we're looking on how they repeat. If one of those was like 3/2 and then 3/4.
3 over 2?
Or no, 3 commas. If one of those changed. Yeah, like.
Is that still a function?
No.
I have, I have x's that repeat here,
No.
but I have the same y, so I'm good with that. But now I have more x's that repeat, right? I got to look at these x's now that repeat. Do I have the same y?
No.
Then that is not a function now. Once I add that kind of a point to it, that last ordered pair, that would make it not a function. Can I clarify it? I think you knew, but just to confirm. Yeah. All right, so moving on to number 3, this will be a fast one. And this is pretty much exactly what it's going to look like on the quiz. Well, one of them. Oh, I didn't do one from a graph. All right, you'll have to remember how to do that. Well, no, I'll show you how to do that. All right, so if we have what looks like an equation, the only difference is we don't have a y here, right? F of x is the same thing as y. There's no difference in f of x and y. Y is the output, f of x is the output. The only difference is we say y instead of saying f of x. They both mean the same thing. They're the answer, basically, to the equation. They're in the same format. We could graph this, just like we graphed y equals mx plus b. We could graph f of x equals 2x plus 1. It's the same thing. The slope is still the 2. The y-intercept is still the 1. There's no difference other than the fact that f of x saves us time. Yeah, go. Go.
Why?
Moving fast. Great luck.
I haven't made that
Well, I don't want you to. If you get past it, I don't. Not. I don't. We got talked to as teachers about having
I don't
students
care.
do this. I do. It's my job. You should care because it's my job. You don't care about me? Better watch your answer on that.
We don't care about you.
She does. She does. All right. So, if I give you this equation, this function really, because f of x is telling me this is a function. What am I telling you here when I say f of 4?
That you would replace the x with 4 and then
So what I'm really telling you is I'm telling you x equals 4.
You're just filling in.
I'm telling you the value of x. That's what this means. X was there, right? Now, instead of x being there, a 4 is there. So all I'm telling you is x equals 4. That's what that notation means. It just means x equals 4. Well, if I now know, if I now have more information, because remember, a variable is just an unknown number. Well, once we know what the variable is, we don't need the variable anymore. So I don't need this x over here. I know what the number is. I don't need it. So I want you to show me your answers again for that one, because I don't frankly remember who got it right, but that should have been basically what you did. Well, was this 3? Where's your 3?
Oh, I did 1 because we did 1 and 2.
All right, I see it now. I see it. See it. Everybody looks like now they're good. Are you good, Ash? Jacqueline, you two are shy about showing your answers. Do you understand? You? Do you get it? See what I did? All right.
Get kind here.
So yeah, that looks good. Let me see your answer for number 4.
I didn't do it.
No. Do it real quick. All right. For number 4, there's 2 ways to do this one. First question, if I want to know the rate of change, what would make it really, really easy is what? What would make a rate of change easy from a table? Which doesn't happen. If my x values are going up by 1, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, then all I got to do is figure out, because if you don't remember, if you weren't here, or if you don't remember, the rate of change is just a pattern of addition. But the key to that is the x values have to be going up by 1. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, which they're not. So in this case, I can't just look at what I'm adding, which is my pattern of addition is I'm adding 2, and then here I added 3. And I do that every time. And you don't always have a pattern in the original table. Sometimes you have to create the table to get the pattern, the correct table, the full table. That's why we filled in the blanks in the table the other day, if you remember. So now if I look at this and I see that my x's aren't going up by 1, probably the easiest way, instead of recreating a brand new table with all the values filled in, like filling in the 2, the 4, the 6, probably the easiest way, if I just need the rate of change, just plug it into the formula. This is the formula, right? So if you're going to do that, here's how you do it. So you should have that formula easy to I mean, it's on the board, so I guess it's easy to access. I take the table. If it's a vertical table, it's the same concept. You would just start with the higher row for your x1, y1, and then one of the rows below that has to be x2, y2. I can use any columns I want as long as I have an x and a y in there.
Oh.
So I could choose this one and this one. I don't have to choose 2 right next to each other. I don't have to choose the first 2. Remember, we said choosing, well, maybe don't remember. If you choose all positive numbers, that will typically make it a little easier, because then you don't have to deal with subtracting and negative. If you choose smaller positive numbers, that would also make it easier. So really, I should probably be choosing the first 2 columns, because these are the smallest numbers. But just to show you it doesn't matter what I choose, I'm going to choose this one and that one. So once I've done that, I don't know why it doesn't do that. Try that again. There we go. All right. So let's do blue. Should stand out. What is it that just went away? I don't know what went away. I don't think we need the red stuff behind it. So here's how you, that was which columns I used. So I'm using this column and this column, if you remember. For some reason, the red now got covered up. So I need to, so here are my x values. Remember where your x's and y. X is always on top, y is on bottom. Or if it's a vertical one, x is on left, Y is on the right. So for my X values, I'm going to label that X1, that X2. You go left to right. It's like you read a book, left to right. I then need to use the same columns and label this Y1, Y2. Again, that's my first column. That's my second column. That's all the ones and the twos mean. First column, second column. They don't have any, they're not math. You're not doing anything like squaring a number or anything like that.
How come you're not doing 1 3 for X, 1 X?
I said I really normally would, because those would be the smallest numbers, but I'm just showing you can use anything, because I bet most of you probably use the first two columns. Am I correct? So I want you to see I'll get the same answer. So we'll compare it with what everybody got, and then, so now, I'm going to take the formula and I'm going to write it down. Don't skip that step. Some of you will still skip that step probably, and I won't take off for it, but if you make a mistake, can't give you any partial credit. So, Y2, subtract Y1 over X2, subtract X1. Let's do this also, if I can get it to work. Probably won't, but we'll see. Nope, I don't know why it doesn't do that. It's so weird. So now I look at my table and I say, okay, what is my Y2? Because the first thing I'm going to write is this whatever number is the Y2 number. So Anijah, what's my Y2 number?
I don't know.
Can you see it?
3?
No. Where does it say Y2?
11?
Yes, wherever that's the whole reason I'm labeling the chart, is so I can then just pull the number straight out. So I labeled this Y2, so I need to write that number where Y2 would go. And then make sure you include the subtraction sign. That is part of the equation. I don't care if the next number is negative, I still need the subtraction sign. Sway, what is my Y1 number? My Y1 number. What is it? Y1 is 5, so I just write 5 where Y1 would be. Jacqueline, what is my X2 number? 7. So again, I'll show everybody. X2 was 7, so I write 7. And last but not least, who am I going to call? Jennifer, what is my X1 number? I'll write 3. That right there is the majority of the credit on the problem. That's why I said I'm not super worried about math, because I'm mainly just making sure you label it correctly and then that you plug them into the correct spots. Now you do the math. So 11 subtract 5. I'm going to come down here. 11 subtract 5 is 6.
But Mr. Gill, how do we know where to plug them in at?
That formula. That formula. Oop. So
No,
that
I mean,
formula. Is that?
Yeah, no, I know the formula, but I'm saying you said plug it in. How do you know how to plug it in at?
Because that's where that number goes.
Oh, okay.
That Y2 means that Y2. Like, now, are you asking me how do I know how to label it? Or are you asking me, so you know how to label it in the chart?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, if you know how to label it, then that's why you're labeling it, so you can then pick the number to put in place of the formula.
Okay.
All right?
That's great. Bro, Mr. Gill, doesn't X go over Y though?
No, Y goes over X.
Bro, you told me on
No,
Tuesday.
you did it wrong.
No,
That was wrong.
You told me on Tuesday
Never
that I
told
was
you.
doing it wrong because I put the X over
And
the
I
Y.
think
Yes, you were doing it wrong. But you're literally saying exactly what you did wrong, and then you're asking, does
So you
it
keep
go?
talking to me.
You put the X's over the Y. That is incorrect. Look,
Oh,
screw you guys. Look, our X is over the Y. It's right here in front of you.
stop it.
When you did it, you put the X's over the Y's, even though right here it says Y's over X's. Now, here's what. When I say X's are over Y's, I mean that's the way the table is. In the table, the X's are on. No, this is actually, other people did do this. So now that you mention it, this may be what you're thinking. I had a guy, same thing. He's like, why in the world would they make the formula Y over X when every table is X over Y? It has nothing to do with how the table is. It has to do with the fact that what is the formula for slope that we learned when we graph? What's the formula we learned when we graph?
Y was in.
No, that's the formula for a whole line.
Right.
Rise over run, right? That's the formula for slope. That's all this is. It's just rise over run. The rise is based on the vertical distance, which is your y value. The run is based on your horizontal distance, which is the x value. That's why the y's are on top, because it's the rise over the run. We're just doing a different formula for rise over run. That's all we're doing. But yeah, that actually was, I got not into a debate, but one kid, he kept doing the same thing. And it was because finally I talked to him and he said, but if x's are on top then. And he was doing what kind of what you're doing.
So Mr. Gill, will we ever see a graph where it has a y over x?
So, you mean like for the rate of change, like a formula?
Yes.
No, because rise over run is the slope formula. That's how you figure out the slope.
Yeah.
And rise is always based on your vertical distance, right? Your vertical distance is your y-axis. Your horizontal distance is your x. So it's always got to be y over x. No, every table is going to have the x values on top. That's the way they're going to do it. So you just got to make sure you understand that this will always be the reverse of how it comes in the table. All right, so that, and that gives me, if I simplify it, by the way, and I think I saw that answer quite a bit, 3/2. I will not take off on an exit ticket for it. On a quiz, yeah, probably would take a little something off. On a big quiz. But again, this may not be, I mean, it'll be on the midterm. I don't know if I'll take off on the midterm or not. It is not, okay, so the midterm is not part of your quarter grade at all. The midterm is a separate grade. So when you get your semester grade, like that, and that's what goes into your GPA, is your semester grade. It is based on your first quarter, your second quarter, and then your midterm grade, which again, your midterm doesn't go into your quarter grade. It's a separate grade.
They can only bring.
They take those and, no, absolutely not.
Oh, I can go down.
Absolutely. Yeah, your midterm grade can bring you can get, I had this happen, unfortunately, my first year teaching, because I didn't make a test on first year teaching.
What it
I had students get an A, and then they got, I don't remember if it was a C or a D. It was at least a C, and they might have gotten a D. They got a B for the whole semester. No, they got an A the first 2 quarters. They got a B for the semester.
Mr. Gill.
Which stinks if you get 2 A's and then all of a sudden
So
one
you get an A
test
and a
brings
B,
you down
what
to
would
a
that
B.
make?
What's that?
If you get an A and a B for the first semester and you get a C on the test, you get a.
That would still be a, well, that's a good question. I don't know. There's a little chart that they have that tells me what you get, and I can figure it out mathematically. I mean, all you do is well, they're not weighted evenly, actually. The quarter grades are worth a little bit more. Like they weight what's called weighting the grades. So let's say the quarter grades are both worth 40% of your grade, so that would be a total of 80, and then the semester exam is only worth 20%. So it's not as important as the quarters, but it could still drop you below what you might have gotten without it.
What if you exempt?
And I was just going to say, then if you exempt, it's a whole different story. I'll be honest, I don't think there's any chart that tells me. Now, you can only exempt if you have an A and B. Like if you have a C, you can't exempt. If you have C's, you can't have a certain number of absences. So there's all kind of requirements. So for a lot of you, your absences will take you out of that.
Mine sure did.
I
I thought it was
Tardies count too?
Oh, it might be tardies. Yeah, it might be tardies. I'll be honest, they just sent out the email on it yesterday. I was actually supposed to go pick up the forms for you today, and I forgot to get them because I don't go anywhere near the office on Tuesday mornings and Thursday mornings, so I didn't grab them. But I'll have it for you. If you need one, you can always go into the office. I don't know if they have your name on or not already, but if not, I'll get it for you. You can come by here and get it. I'll get it at lunch. So you can either come at the end of the day, like after lunch, or during lunch, during second lunch, or you can get it from me. I'll have it tomorrow for sure. So anytime, swing by and grab it. So that's pretty much all the review, except I am going to do one more thing. Let's do how to evaluate a graph. So how to evaluate a function from a graph real quick. And then we're going to wrap up the new lesson by going back over the Y-intercept thing. So if you have a graph, am I going the right way? Yeah, this will work. All right, so if you have a graph, will this one work? I don't like that one a whole lot. Let's fix it. We can fix it. Oh, I keep holding this. If you have a graph and I ask you to evaluate, if I ask you to evaluate the function, so that's for you, you got it because of your grade on that. And I give you a set of data that looks like this. Go. What are you doing? Oh man. Oh, that's fine. And I give you that.
Why don't you just move the graph?
Because I want them in. It's easier if I want them in specific spots. We'll just do that. I could have, I guess, because it doesn't really matter. So if I give you that, and I say, what is, or I say evaluate this function, because it is a function, right? Because if I do the vertical line test, I never hit any 2 points at once, so it is a function. It will always be a function if they ask you to evaluate. Because the only way you can evaluate it is if it's a function. Otherwise, you'd have 2 points in the same spot, possibly. And I say this. Let me give you one that's easy to see. What's the answer to that? Because evaluate means what?
Solve.
Well, what's the problem? What are we solving?
For one.
Solve only for X. You have to pick one.
Well, I don't have anything to plug in, right?
Would it be,
What did I tell you right here in the parentheses? What does this mean?
would it be
That's
-3?
X. That's what you plug in.
That still means x equals 1. So that doesn't change. The fact that when I give you a number in here, I'm still telling you x equals 1. The problem is I don't have an equation to plug that 1 into and solve like I did in the other problem.
Would it be -3? Since you could put
3? Yeah, I did 3. I didn't. For some reason I think it was higher than. So I still need to look at. The x value of 1, because x is still 1. Like I said, nothing changed with that concept. I just have to figure the answer out, like what is the output? What's the final answer when x is 1? I got to figure that out a different way than plugging in and solving. So I'm going to circle where x is 1. So x is 1 right there, right? Just to show you that's where x is 1. You don't have to do this on the quiz or anything. This is just for the lesson. So that's where x is 1. Every single time they give you this information, there's going to be data that lines up with that spot where x is 1. There will be a point, possibly there might even be a line on the graph, a whole line. But something will line up with this spot on the x-axis. Which point lines up with it? Is it above or below that spot? It's below, right? It's this point right here. This point, if I were to write the ordered pair, would be 1, comma, -3, right? That's where that point is on that graph. So the answer to this is just whatever the y value is. The answer is not 1, comma, -3. Don't write 1, comma, -3. It's not the entire point. It is just the y value. That's the answer. So there's no math to do. So when I say evaluate, even though evaluate does kind of mean solve, there's no equation to really solve. Solving means just find what the x and y value are for whatever x equals. So 1, comma, -3 for that. What about this? I want you on your whiteboards to tell me what that is. Don't say it out loud.
Wait, Michigan.
Oh, yeah, man, I always, because I almost picked it. I thought it was way higher than I thought it was actually a positive. What you got? Okay, I see yours, you're good.
Would you put
That was
Y
good, that was
or
good.
no?
No, you would not write y equals anything. You would write exactly what's there. It would be f of -6 equals, and then just a number. Yeah. Good. Jacqueline, I want to see yours. Ash, I want to see yours. Josue, I want to see yours. Adiamas, I don't think I saw yours.
Michigan, on my board.
Good.
I erased it. It kind of screwed up the name.
Yeah, I noticed some of them are doing that. That's fine. I normally either clean them up.
Art at a
Good.
holiday.
Be careful, because I don't think that would be the right answer.
Let's go.
Good. Okay, that's yours. Well, this is on there. This should be an easy point. So what is the answer for that? Write it on your whiteboard. Say you don't know.
You gotta beat up a little bit, it's okay. You get it next time.
All right, there you go. That's what I wanted to make sure you did.
That kind of like lift up.
So, oh, Jacqueline, I want to see what you do. Where is x -6? That's the first thing you would find. Then look for the point, or whatever data is on the chart. In this case, it's a point. What point lines up with where x is -6? And then what is the y value for that point? And so again, the point that lines up with -6 is this one right here. Well, that's -6 comma -2. So my y value is what I put right there. So I mean, that's most of the quiz right there. Let's do the new, really quickly review the new thing, which is finding the y-intercept. All right, go fast, because this is on the quiz, but you mainly have all the other stuff. That's the main stuff.
How many
Can
questions?
I go after?
All right, so if we have time.
What you eat with?
So we have this table right here, right? We already solved for the rate of change.
Oh, there's another way, that's crazy. Oh, this is bad.
That's not the one.
How would you even do that?
How did I get on this screen?
You screwed up.
No.
Yeah, but I don't remember.
Yeah.
I don't remember going forward. Huh, all right. I wanted to use this graph here. All right, so we have this graph,
Oh.
right? We figured out the rate of change is this. That's the rate of change. We figured that out by using the formula, and that will be your first step. So here's the question oh man, I don't think I put this on there.
Good. Oh.
I think you're getting lucky. I think I forgot to put this on there.
Nice.
I did, I sure did. Dadgummit.
Better grade than half the class.
Yeah, well, actually, I was gonna make it a bonus. So. You actually, I might. Okay, here's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna make this a bonus question and just put it up on the whiteboard.
Oh.
Because it was gonna be a bonus anyway. I just wasn't gonna tell you that. So you're gonna have to tell me. I'm gonna ask you this. This is actually gonna be exactly what your question
You
is.
have an exit ticket next week?
Yeah, we're gonna have to. Yeah, there's only been 1 week this quarter where we didn't have one. I think that was the week before. Well, technically, there was 2 weeks where we didn't have exit tickets. One was the week before your big quiz, and one was the week of your big quiz, but you had the big quiz.
You can get A and B, you get a C.
All right, so this is how it's gonna be, right like this. I'm gonna give you a question that's gonna say, write the linear function for, and then I'm gonna give you a table. Well, you already know how to do the rate of change from a table. So you got this right here. So you should be able to figure that part out. The function equation is that same equation, y equals mx plus b, only we're not going to use y. We're going to still use the f of x instead of y, but same concept. So we need to create an equation that is in that format. So we got to figure out what the slope is, which again, slope and rate of change are the same. So we'll use this formula here to figure out that number in front of the x, which we already did. So the number in front of the x was this. So I'm using that same table up there. Now we got to figure out what is that y-intercept? What's that value on at the end?
When x is 0.
We said yesterday, or 2 days ago, we said, well, the x value of 0. So if x is 0, so here's the x-axis. If x is 0, right there in the middle of the x-axis, well, that is where the y-axis runs. That means every y-intercept, so here's a y-intercept here, here's a y-intercept here, every y-intercept has an x value of 0. So all we got to do is figure out, if we're trying to find the y-intercept, we just got to figure out what is the y value when x is 0. Sometimes they'll just give you that in the table. They'll just say x is 0, y is this number. Like if you look at your first page of your sheet, I think number 10, it says x is 0, y is 0. So the y-intercept is 0.
See what happens?
If you don't have it though, we got to figure it out from the table. So what would we do? You remember? I'm going to get rid of some of this stuff. Hopefully you have it
And
written
you
down.
said this would be the bonus question, right?
Yeah, this will be a bonus. So if you don't get all of this, don't worry too much.
Look at the Y's.
You do need to know how to do the rate of change though. That's not
Yeah,
a
no,
bonus. But the y-intercept and the complete equation, yeah. So if I need to figure out, because I just need to know what is the y value when x is 0. But do you see an x value of 0 in that table?
No, so you're gonna have.
No, right? But it's based on a pattern. We know there's a pattern to these numbers. What's the pattern though?
It's increasing by 3 each time.
But what about the x's?
But the X is
By
just
2.
increasing
By 2, right? So what's the problem though if I try to
by 2.
go
So you would just
1 to the left?
So then if
Am I going to hit 0?
And then you're gonna get a negative answer for Y.
Yeah, but if I go 1 to the left from 1 and I'm in decrease, I get -1 is my answer. Right? Because I'm going down by 2. So I'm not going to hit 0.
Indeed.
Ruh-roh. What do I need to do?
You need to just.
What did we do 2 days ago? It's a longer version. I told you this is why I'm doing the longer version. Works every time though, just takes a little longer. What do I need to create?
You need to create a.
Even Aiden stuff.
Hold on, give me a minute.
I mean, I just get a better grade on the last test.
Well, all you gotta do is look at your notes and see what we did. Is pretty much the very first thing on the rate of change. It's in your
The
notes.
first thing we found.
It's the very first thing we did with the table. I told you normally you wouldn't even have to do that because you have a formula, but I said there will be times when this comes in handy. This is that time. And there is another way to do it, but it's a more complex concept.
You just make it 0.
What do we need in order to get to an x of 0? What does the change have to be?
It would have to be -1.
We'd have to be changing by only 1, correct?
Yeah.
Well, couldn't we probably figure out a way to make this table only change by 1 for the x?
Yeah, you would have to change it.
So that's what we have to do. We have to create a table where x is just changing by 1. I'm going to get rid of everything and just do this piece. So again, we've already solved for the rate of change. That was 3/2, so just remember that. So that was the rate of change. Rate of change equal 3/2. So now I would say, okay, well, I need to get an x of 0. That's really the whole goal. And I'm going to go ahead and do that by making sure every x goes up by 1. I don't even have to write the whole table. Like, I don't have to go all the way through 7. I'm just going to stop at 5. Because my only goal here is just to find out what this column is right here. That's all I need. And I know the pattern already. That's the pattern. So I don't even have to figure the pattern out from the table. So technically, I could have probably stopped with the first 2 columns. But I'm going to just to show you, I'm going to do a few of them. No, I need to see work on the exit tape.
No, like,
I mean, if you transpose the work over, oh wait, you mean something that you, yeah. You have notes on it. You mean like notes from it or an example? Yeah. I told Aiden that earlier too. So those are the numbers I know, right? I know 1 and 2 is a pair, 3 and 5, 5 and 8. Well, what do I need to do to find the number in between either the 2 and the 5 or the 5 and the 8? It's got to be a pattern still, right? I've got to be adding some number every time so that I land on 5 and 8 eventually. Give me a number. I add 3. If I add 3, I get 5. Well, if I add 3 again, I'm way over the 5. So 3 doesn't work. Remember, I got to be adding it. I'm adding 3 to get to these, but I don't want to skip steps. 2. Let's try 2. If I add 2, I get 4, right? Well, if I add 2, I get 6. So that didn't work. You see what I'm saying? If I add 2, I get 4, but if I add 2, I don't land on 5. I got to land on 5. Let's try 1. If I add 1, I get 3, right? Well, but now if I add 1, I get 4, so I don't land on it either. Oh, somebody realizes that we have other numbers besides integers.
Huh?
We got to use decimals. fractions.
Ain't gonna lie.
Here's the deal. You already knew what you needed to add.
Ow.
You just didn't think about it.
The 3
Yeah,
halves.
both those.
We already figured out the rate of change right there. That's 1.5. If I know x is going up by 1, which I just created it, I made it go up by 1. I'm creating a new chart, right? I already know what I'm adding every time. I figured it out earlier using the formula. That's what I'm adding. So 3 halves, if you don't know it, that is 1.5.
Oh, that's crazy.
So I just need to add 1.5 every time. If I add 1.5 to that. So that's why I say figure the rate of change out first using the formula, and then you don't need to try to guess what you add every time. It's already going to be the rate of change you figured out in the very first step. So my full equation then, the rate of change, you can even write, I don't care if you write it as 1.5. The rate of change is 3 halves or 1.5. And then I would add on what? I didn't fill that part in for you.
Oh,
Wait, I thought
wait.
wouldn't the
Oh.
1.5 be what you add and then wouldn't
No,
the
because-
x be the 3 halves?
Same number.
Wouldn't it be?
No, x is x. X is an unknown. The rate of slope, that's the slope. X is not the slope ever. X is times the slope. X is not a part of the slope.
Oh, wait, hold on. So then, hold on. Shut up, Nick. I think it'd be
Better score
0.5.
than you.
Shut up. It'd be
Better
0.5.
score.
I need to say 2 subtract 1.5.
I said.
They got a better score.
That's I'm gonna get a better score than you on this session.
We will see. Oh, you guys should put a little
Only-
something on it.
Only because the bonus.
Anybody want in? You guys should do a little pool.
Only because the
Do a little
bonus.
pool.
Only because the
I got $2 on Nick.
Oh, I thought you wanted to be in on it. You don't want to be in on it? Maybe you want to get in on it.
I'll be in on it. Doesn't matter.
There you go. You guys should bet on. Well, I shouldn't.
I bet you're on
I bet you're allowed.
I used to love to bet those. All right, so that would be the full equation. That's the example of what your bonus would look like. I want to do one more problem with rate of change, though. I don't know why I keep looking at my watch. It's dead. Let's do one more rate of change problem real quick. Let's do one that's a little tougher, though, if I have one.
2 pieces of lint from my pocket and a breath mint.
I prefer- Go fast. Shoot. All right, I don't have one, so I'm going to create one. So here's your rate of change problem. Do this super fast. Oh boy, that wasn't a very good table, but that's fine. We'll do 1 and 4, and then we'll do 3 and 9, and then we'll do 7 and
This is getting too personal.
10. I know,
What, for
really,
your-
right?
For your conference?
And then we'll do
A lot of
8.
people's comfort.
Nah, not really.
Nah, just yours. Don't
I
be
know, let's
showing
not do
me
that.
yours.
Your corner. Oh, Snickers are nasty.
Even though he still gets better grades than you.
Put me
Look,
no,
Nick.
he doesn't.
Yes, Nick.
All right, there's your table. Find the rate of change.
All right, I get better grades than him. I get better
I
grades.
think you both get the same grade, really. The ultimate final grade.
Hey, sleep through a test and make your grade up and then talk to me.
Yeah,
I
that's.
did hurt you. Luckily, it wasn't the big quiz.
No, if it was the big one, then it wouldn't have.
I wouldn't have let you see.
I did.
Although, at some point, I just got to
This
give
should
up.
go, you should put an air horn in here, and then whenever.
Didn't it
someone
I have a
calls-
whistle.
Then I like also be like when
I
was
always-
using-
When I taught at Johns Hopkins, this was always
I
out.
always brought my grade up. I was bringing my grade up across the big quiz. I went from like a 20 to a 50.
Cover your ears real quick. Jacqueline, Josue, you can want to cover your ears for this one. Adiamas? That's good.
Wait, my hand.
Josue, cover your ears.
The bullets?
Yeah, you're right. I'm a little away from you. It is pretty loud. If I really blow it. 'Cause, I mean, it's built for refereeing a football game or basketball. Yeah. Ears recovered. Yeah, no, I mean, it's a referee. All right, do your rate of change. You don't have to, I mean, if you want to do the full
Oh, no.
equation, you can, because I am going to give you one, but
I can do it on the whiteboard.
But you, rate of change, there are 2 questions on rate of change, so you definitely know how to, and that's not bonus. So you know how to do it.
Please.
What, this what we're doing right now?
Yep, that's your last example, and then we'll do the exit ticket for your last practice
This you guys should-
for rate of change. No. I actually couldn't see it. I don't think it's right. That's correct. Whoa, he's like, what?
You just gotta
Oh, he's
push
so
it.
funny.
What do you do,
This
dude?
is right. This.
You taking, see, this is what I mean. Take your time. Like,
I mean, I always
I
use
think-
I always use the first.
I feel pretty comfortable. Aiden was getting this, but he just made some kind of little mistake.
I always use
Now,
the
if you show your work, you would have probably still gotten quite a bit of credit for it. Boy, it's funny because everybody else is getting it right.
He is one dumb kid.
Yeah. Oh, yours, you need to check yours. You're now making the Grant mistake.
Oh, it
Grant
doesn't
fixed it.
suck to be Grant.
I said yes if you want.
Oh, I see.
So what did you do that is wrong? Look at mainly the equation and where you put your numbers. You see it?
Tell I
All
didn't
right,
bother.
good job.
It is, because I don't
And
know
again,
what I did wrong.
that really, I don't give much
What are
personal
the
credit
first
for that
four
kind of
numbers?
mistake. Because that's
Yeah,
not a
like
math
the-
error.
On the chart.
I did the first one.
Oh, okay.
1, 3, and 1.
Now you can read it. Now you can read it.
Yeah, you gotta flip it right like
Who is this from?
My
Like
mom.
instead of like X1, like X2
Oh.
goes first, and then X1, and then Y2.
Dude, he's stupid. Just leave him alone.
Oh, Y goes over A.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm stupid. Never mind. I know what I did.
That-
Well,
That's
I
the
did.
graph we were talking about.
Wait, long distance.
Whoa,
Yeah,
what?
that's like an hour and a half.
Like everything.
Long
Oh.
distance.
It's harder than I was like, dude, tapping it won't do anything.
Okay, Michigan, I think I got it.
Let me see.
Wow, look how stiff this is.
So, yeah.
Dumb for real. I got it.
No, I
I got it faster than
Maybe-
Aiden.
Mr. Gill.
Let me see.
Yeah, I thought you already were.
Faster than Aiden.
Shut the hell
And
up,
I
my
missed-
man.
Like he told me you guys were.
Huh?
Made a
Told me you
mistake.
guys were.
Yeah.
You said you were?
It's my first time learning it, and I know it better than
Oh,
Aiden.
ask
That's
me
bullshit. I
yesterday.
just
Okay,
show
so
you the
then, yeah,
damn
so you were
question.
fine.
Shut the
Hey,
hell
but
up.
I still got it
All
faster than Aiden.
right, so everybody looks pretty good. Did you do this one?
I got it faster than Aiden.
There are 2
Good
of
job,
these on
you
there.
Bro, you should,
Two
Mr.
questions
Gill, you
like
should
this.
put me right at that desk. Right in
Yes.
between them
It's already bad enough. Maybe we'll do a team thing and you guys can be captains and we'll choose teams.
I get to pick first.
It takes a long time to do, that's
No,
not
no.
a problem.
No, I get.
Well, the way you pick, here's how, if we did this, the way you would pick is somebody will have to have first pick, obviously.
Me, though.
So somebody gets first and then second and then third. But then whoever gets third gets 2 picks in a row and it goes the reverse order. So they'll get to pick 2
Oh,
people
I'd
in a
rather
row.
go third.
So depending on how quote unquote deep your team is, sometimes being third is not a bad thing because you get 2 solid picks in a row. So
Yeah, I'm third.
I'll do first.
No, you're the-
second isn't normally bad. First can be tricky because you get the very first pick,
you also-
but then you also get like the 6th pick.
Oh,
the
you
fifth,
might
whatever.
you might be the smartest person in the
Yeah, you get
class.
the sixth,
and the rest
so you get
rest
first and
is-
sixth. So yeah, you gotta. The only reason I don't do that, I would have to make the teams up because I don't want anybody to feel bad if you don't pick first.
Just one pick.
No, it should be me.
I would make the
It should be
teams up.
me, Nick, and Grant against us.
I got him.
Yes. Go quickly though, because we're about to start the exit. Actually, I'm gonna start it right now. So when you get back, it'll be on your desk.
This is standing up
So
for
go
the
fast.
class, y'all switch-
Okay.
everybody switch seats.
Oh, not. Go ahead. Say you're looking for our pass. It's been out. And tell her she needs to get back. We're starting the exit ticket. All right. Any last questions? You got plenty of time. You got 30 minutes. I mean, there shouldn't be any issues. Most of the questions, there's no real
I
math.
have one
Come
question.
on, I'm just trying to do.
Can you go over the, what's it called? This, not,
Oh yeah. Does anybody know? Did you do anybody do the full equation? What the zero value would be?
Yeah, I just lost like, I lost my.
Well, remember, you just figured out the rate of change, right? So you really don't have to go through and do the whole table. Like, I only did that as an example in the other, because that's the concept we're using. But if I just need to go back one spot, right? That's what I need to do. I need to know where x is 0. Like, do you guys follow me on that?
Oh, I get it.
I need to figure out, okay, well, where would x be 0? What in the world just happened there? I need to know what if x is 0, what is y? Well, if x is going 1, then I just need to use the rate of change to go backwards. What's the rate of change?
5 halves.
Yeah, 2.5. You just figured that out. So I would just need to say 4 subtract 2.5. It's 1.5. So you don't really have to fill out the whole table if you have an x of 1. Now, if you don't have an x of 1, then you're going to have to do a little more work and fill out more values. But if they give you an x of 1 and you're only moving back one spot, you just subtract the rate of change out from whatever your y is below the x of 1. Now, if I wouldn't have given you this column and you had an x of 3, then you got to subtract 2.5, 2.5, 2.5. Yeah. But again, you still use the 2.5 or whatever the rate of change.
That be right or no?
No, and don't forget your x in the equation too. Like,
Oh,
did you say 4 subtract 2.5?
I want them bonus points.
So yeah, everybody should
Bro,
want.
that's the only way to get a better grade.
Well, you should be able to do this too. If they can do it, they should get a better grade than you.
Oh, I did a better.
You act like the bonus question isn't a real question. It's actually an advanced question. So if they can get it, they should get a better grade. So 2.5x. So that's the equation right there if you did it. 2.5x plus 1.5.
Yeah, there's no way 8 is even gonna get the bonus.
Because it's 4 subtract 2.5, right? Is that what you did? Yeah, that's because we're going backwards this way by 1. Well, if we only change by 1 that way, then the rate of change is 2.5, so we need to subtract 2.5. Again, it's a bonus, so if you guys aren't, I'm gonna go ahead and stop the recording before I hand. No, I'm just
gonna
gonna.
get a better grade. I definitely ain't gonna get the bonus.
Hey, I'll tell you right now, I'm gonna equate it to you sports guys. This is just like a football game. And you guys are pretty evenly matched. It's gonna come down to execution. Does anybody make a dumb mistake? That's what it's gonna come down to.
Nick's gonna screw up on the whole
Explain
thing.
how throwing, catching, hitting, and punting.
I just did. Did you not hear it?
Just like
If you have two good teams, right? They're pretty evenly matched. What decides who wins?
As soon as
Oh,
one
yeah,
gets
bigger
off the
bodies?
ball,
No, they're evenly matched. You're evenly matched. What decides who's gonna win?
it just matters who
Smarter
messes
play.
up.
Execution, right? Whoever
throws up
plays
hits first.
better,
Yes.
whoever doesn't make
Nick's gonna have that
penalties,
big.
whoever doesn't turn the ball over and make dumb mistakes.
Oh, so-
Somebody's gonna make dumb mistakes, I bet, out of you guys.
No,
Somebody's gonna try to go to, because the other thing you try to
I
compete
take my
on
time.
is you do, and that's probably why you got a better grade on that one. Because you try to go too fast. I wouldn't say Grant tries to go too fast necessarily.
Dang,
No, I just
Grant-
messed up in the slightest ways.
You may just not be completely focused sometimes.
He just
You
be
can't,
one eye closed, one
you
eye
can't
open.
not do this, but this is a bigger exit ticket than normal, so.
Yeah, if you get an F, then.
Yeah, I can sleep on this one as
That
well.
would hurt more than the
I can sleep
25
on this
point.
one. He still makes my grade up.
Ooh, I can't be bribed yet.
Oh,
Try to bribe me.
I found money on the floor.
Really?
Yeah.
Nice, that's a good day so
Skill,
far.
skill if I pay you, if I pay you $3, can I get it for free?
I got 2 people out.
If you pay, this.
Oh, you're back.
You got
All
cash app?
right, telling Nige if you see her.
Debit or credit?
Credit.
Girl. Phones should be up. Definitely can't have. If you already have them in your lap and stuff, they need to be completely put up now. The next ticket is out for a lot of reasons. You are so welcome.
You got one left.
Again, I think you have plenty of time. There's only a couple questions where there's any math at all, and that's not real difficult math. And then I'll put the bonus up on the board. So I'll get that up by the time you get toward the end.
You want us to just do it on the back?
Yeah, back's fine. I mean, if you want to attach another paper, I don't care. Let's see. Let's do. I mean, there's not. Yeah, I'll make it a little bit harder.
How you gonna make it hard?
Oh, do you really want to ask that question?
Grant, you asked.
I don't feel like it because I kind of want to 'Cause
I know. Why would you want to? There's a saying. I'll tell you right now. You never want to poke the bear. Never poke the bear.
That's what I'm telling him to
Do
do.
you know what that means?
Somewhat.
If you got a big bear, grizzly bear, let's say mean bear,
You don't want to. You don't want.
and that bear is sleeping, why would you walk up and poke the bear?
I don't
That
know,
would be
just get
silly.
mauled by a bear.
Some people do it. Some people think, oh, let me see if he's awake. Let me see if he'll wake up if I poke the bear. Well, that winds up being a mistake. Don't poke the bear.
What's the bear that was in the mountains? They made a movie.
There have been a few bear movies.
No, I don't think it was Smokey because Smokey's a real thing.
Like, was it a mean bear?
No, it was the bear. It was a.
Talking about Yogi Bear?
I think so. It was.
Was it a cartoon bear?
Like a state ranger.
State Ranger.
That's Yogi.
Yeah, State Ranger.
Yeah, that's Yogi if you're talking about State Park. All right, so let's see. You guys work on that.
And then there was a smaller bear next to him.
If they're back. Yeah.
How hard am I going to make this?
Oh, that's great.
Pretty hard, I think.
I messed up.
I'm making it so hard, I got to get a calculator.
Oh, no, I ain't.
Oh, yeah. Still the same steps. I told you get a calculator. Nobody wanted one. All right, so let's do this.
Y'all got me on number 5.
All right, no, let's not do that. I'll just do those 3. Well, what did I just do there? That's all. Yeah, I know. Because people freak out. That's all you really need. I was gonna put a whole bunch more numbers up there just to scare you, but that's all you need. Because remember, it's a pattern. The pattern's always the same. All you need is really 2 numbers, actually, two word pairs. But that's true.
What if we do that on a different question? Will we consequences?
Nope.
I don't even know number 4.
That's your bonus right up there. You need to write the equation, write the function, I should say. Write
I can't even do that.
the linear function.
Mr. Gill, I'm having a problem like seeing what the numbers are.
On this? On that. If you can't see on the graph what the numbers are you talking about for like 5 and
Yeah.
2 and 4?
Yeah.
Start where the X and the Y cross, because that's 0, 0, and count outwards. Yeah, if you can't see the numbers, we talked about that before, like this graph, for example. This graph has no numbers on it at all. Start here where they cross and just say, okay, well, that's a 1,
Isn't it what we
2,
just
3, 4, 5. So if I have a point here, I'd go 1, 2, 3, 4, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, or wherever.
I was in here.
So just count from the very middle, left, right, and then up or down. That's actually a safer way to do it anyway, to tell you the truth. Because some graphs, the numbers, even if they're big enough, they're a little confusing as to where they put them. So I'll set the timer. You've got 20 minutes, still quite a bit of time.
Oh, I'm good, right? Yeah, that's the way to think. Let you do that.
Nobody fun there. Nobody flying English. Nobody likes English. Oh, I didn't stop my recording. Shoot. I'll be back to this screen in a minute. Let me stop the recording.